The party begin. Well, we learned something really new about Elon last night. He was the kid who begged his parents to let him open his present on Christmas Eve. I thought until now that he was the master of staging a drama, but alas, he gave away the ending last night and he didn't even give us a spoiler alert. So somehow, if you've missed it until now, we have the victory. The home team won. Elon's compensation package was passed overwhelmingly by the stockholders, maybe almost by the exact amount that it passed the first time in 2018. And we have a 7% bump in the stock market so far, and we'll take a look at that in a little bit and see if it's holding up. That was this amount that the options had implied. Go figure. We are now well past the 180 mark. That has been the number to beat. And now 200 kind of looms up there as the next big hurdle to clear. Of course, there is a remaining potential for the stock as voters can, we're not 100% sure that it's passed because voters can change their mind right up until, I forget, a couple of hours before the meeting or something. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to be a problem. And then the bigger challenge, of course, is with the Delaware Chancery Court and what they do with all of this. So, roughly speaking, I guess the Tesla their lawyers will present this result formally back to the Judge McCormick. And then she's got to decide what to do about it. Now, the easiest and smartest and wisest thing would be that she would say, oh, okay, I'm just going to reverse my ruling, which would reinstate the original 2018 package. The reason that would be smart is because that would be the easiest thing for the Tesla Corporation in terms of their bookkeeping, in terms of taxes for both Elon Musk and the corporation, just to put it back the way it was. Now, this judge hasn't shown me that she has any smarts at all, so I'm not 100% sure she would do that, but that would be the wisest thing to do. Now, it may turn out that she completely throws up her hands and says, no, this doesn't matter to me at all, in which case I'm sure we'll be on the way to an appeal with the Supreme Court of Delaware. And if that doesn't work, we might be looking at an appeal all the way to the Supreme Court. This is an important enough decision, an important enough problem that the Chancery Court has created, that it may have to go all the way there. And then, of course, there's always the hope that this decision will also mean that if the judge is, again, cares about shareholders at all, that by reversing this decision, the scammy lawyers for the other side will not get a penny and, in fact, have to pay legal fees to Tesla. That would be the final amazing result that we could all hope for. Now, hats off to Alexandra, Tesla boomer mama, who's been on the show a couple of times, and others who worked tirelessly to get to this result. And I'll say it again, why can't the Tesla team, the insiders, not the shareholders, but the insiders that put together this amazing effort to get out the vote, why can't those same folks now be teamed up and go out there and use that same imagination and enthusiasm and excitement and everything else and sell a couple of hundred extra thousand cars this year? That would be a real help. I've got this morning from Seeking Alpha. The European Commission on Wednesday said it would provisionally impose additional tariffs of up to 38% on Chinese EV imports. We reported on that yesterday morning. Following a substantiated request, Tesla may receive an individual calculated duty rate based on at the definitive stage, whatever that means. Tesla imports EVs into the UE from its Gigafactory in Shanghai, China. The automaker assembles Model Y sport utility vehicles in Germany, but they bring in the Model S from China. Car maker requested an investigation to calculate a duty level appropriate for the subsidies it has received, according to the European Commission spokesperson Olaf Gill. We can also look more in depth at the specific situation of Tesla and subsidies Tesla has specifically received in China, and that may lead to, indeed, different levels of countervailing duties. This is according to Vladis Dombrovsky, the EU Commissioner for Trade. To avoid an additional 21% on top of the current 10% tariff, other Chinese car makers have until the end of the year to request such an examination. We also have this one. Other people I don't think are going to catch this one. This is important. This is from Alex. He goes under the Alex_Avoigt, AVOIGT. Tesla is increasing its de-risking strategy by asking suppliers to start building components and parts outside of both China and Taiwan by as early as next year, because of rising geopolitical uncertainties. This is a huge positive because supply chains have more flexibility in case of economic or real wars between those two countries. This is, it says, quote, we got the request from Tesla that they hope to have components that are both OOC and OO2, meaning out of China and out of Taiwan, a source from a Taiwan-based supplier to Tesla and others told Nikkei Asia. Nikkei Asia, I guess it's a publication. They hope such a proposal can materialize from next year's new projects from next year's new projects. Sorry. Okay. Well, okay, this is Randy Kirk. Please hit the like button, subscribe button, all that stuff. The subscribes, those are really important to me right now. Really need to jump those up, need to get those going. And then notify, because of course this morning, going to be hearing from Cern Basher. Cern's back from his vacation. You know you've missed him. So he'll be on this morning later on. And then tonight, it will be Nicholas Gibbs and I who will bring in the results of the Tesla meeting later today. Just because we know the results of the vote, which we will have the official results, of course, doesn't mean we don't know what else is going to be announced at that meeting. And I suspect there will be news. I'm pretty darn sure of it. All right. This is for, and please Patreon. It's time to hit Patreon again. We had that nice run. Come on, guys. Let's keep that going. Investors Business Daily. All right, we had really good news here as well. For some reason, the Dow is down on this news. Not 100% sure why, but listen to this. This is from the PPI today. The overall producer price index for final demand fell 0.2% on the month. Fell. Now, that's happened before, but it fell 0.2% on the month, way below the 0.1% increase that was forecast. The PPI rose 2.2 from a year ago, which was far less than the 2.5 estimates. The core PPI, which excludes food and energy, was flat, meaning zero increase, zero decrease, and below the expectation of a 0.3% gain. And the 2.3 12-month inflation rate on the core was just a single 0.1 below the forecasted 2.4. Now, this follows May's 0.16% rise in the core CPI, the smallest monthly increase since August of 2021, could signal a renewal of a disinflationary trend. However, as Powell made clear, one data point does not a season make. We will have to see more of this in the future, but this is a good 1 month. There's almost no way that you can see this as anything but good, except, of course, if you went over here and read this article. The headline, PPI largely healthcare services the most important since it's the biggest component of core PC price inflation. In May, prices for selected healthcare industries jumped 0.8%. Healthcare services rose 3.5 versus April 2.9, and this is a lot different than the CPI the other day, which was not showing this big increase in healthcare. But then we have this from Real EJ Antoni. Real EJ Antoni is how he goes on X. PPI showed a decline in May, off by 0.2% rather, but this morning's report also revised all 4 of the prior months higher. Wholesale price increases for each month this year have been slightly worse than previously estimated. And so that is going to be something that we will be wanting to look back at and see what happens to this month's, which maybe they'll be revised higher. Kobasi says that U.S. supercore inflation increased 5% last year, year over year, its highest level since April 2023. Supercore inflation is a key metric the Fed follows, which includes core services inflation, but does not include shelter. Now, we thought shelter was a big component, so you would kind of expect the super core to be low also, but no, it went way up. Over the last 8 months, it has seen a significant increase from the negative 3.8 last October. This is despite core CPI inflation declining to 3.4 year over year from the 3.6 last month. Overall, inflation has been above 3% for 38 straight months, the longest streak since the 1990s, when it lasted for 54 months. Well, but here's better news from Nick Timiraos, Timiraos, if you want to look him up. Core CPI was well below expectations in May, posting a 0.16% gain. The 3.4 increase from a year earlier was the lowest in 3 years. The 6-month annualized rate, which the Fed pays attention to, 3.8 versus 4.1. The 3-month annualized rate, 3.3 versus 4.1. All right. Now then, let's go. What I missed back here, I didn't want to miss this, was the initial jobless claims from Investors Business Daily. Initial business claims for jobless benefits rose 13,000 to 242,000 in the week through June 8. That lifted the 4-week average at 227 from 222. This is still not a big deal. This is still flat. This is, yeah, it's slightly up, but it goes up, it goes down. Jobless claims haven't been this high since August. It's a nothing burger. The 4-week average rose to the highest level since last September. The overall that was what that report, that was all that there was to that report. All right. Then we have this. As I think our last report here. This is from the Kobasi letter. He's always finding these interesting things. The shocking stat of the day, he calls it, and it is 42% of U.S. small cap companies are unprofitable. This is the most since the 2020 pandemic, when 53% were losing money. At the same time, only 10% of S&P 500 firms and 20% of mid caps are unprofitable. So think about that. 10% of the S&P 500 firms are unprofitable. 20% of mid caps are unprofitable, but 42% of small cap companies. By comparison, during the 2008 financial crisis, 46% of small cap companies were unprofitable, compared to 29% on the S&P 500, much closer and not that far off in terms of the small caps. Small caps. This helps explains why the Russell 2000 index has not reached a new all-time high for 647 days straight, the longest streak since 2011. The index is now trading 21% below its peak, as the elevated interest rates have weighed more heavily on the small caps. All right, with all of that said, lots of good news in there, a couple of pieces of bad news, especially for the small caps. But let's see what all of this is doing in terms of the market. So the market this morning, we've got the Dow down 198. We've got the NASDAQ up 71, but it had been up a lot more. It has been falling off of its top numbers of the day. And you got the S&P up 297, also down from where it started out. And Tesla, which jumped up a ton. Let me just go inside and take a look at the details here. I had traded as high as 191. Today is now down to 188, but it's still up $10.81 for the day so far. But everything kind of fell off just a few minutes ago. I'm wondering what the heck happened there. We'll see if there's anything in the rest of the numbers here in just a second. But the Magnificent Seven is all down. I'm sorry, NVIDIA is up a little bit. Well, that's, again, not a little bit. It's up $3.57, which would be $35.70 last week. So it's doing well this morning. Apple is up a tad. Tesla, again, up 10.85. The rest are down by some by a lot, some by a little. And the Cathie Woods are mixed. But whether they're up or down, it is very small percentages. Now let's go ahead and look at those percentages. You've got the Dow down 0.59%, the NASDAQ up 0.4%, S&P up 0.01%, and Tesla up 0.14%. I'm sorry, 6. I knew there was something wrong there. I was trying to read it and my glasses were funny. 6.14%. Again, sitting at 188.21 right now. Okay, let's go look at the rest of the news with regard to these numbers. So this is an interesting one. A headline breaking right now: Ford has ended their EV dealership program that required hefty investments to sell electric models. I wonder what the Ford company, the Ford dealers who made the investment, how they feel about that. Not so great. And then there's a live Fed recap going on right now where Chairman Powell is explaining why the central bank isn't yet ready to cut rates. I guess after the PPI came out, he felt compelled to do that. That must be why the market has all of a sudden fallen off the cliff. Now we know what's going on there. All right, sorry to, well, not sorry. Those were more important than just going and reading these different figures that are coming in. Okay, so we've got U.S. 10-year down 2 basis points. Yeah, here we go, down 2.2 basis points right at this moment. You've got the 2-year down 4 basis points. That is pushing the difference up again. 4.2, 4.7, that's over 4 again, a little over 4%, 4 basis points again. 40, I'm sorry, over 40 basis points again. You've got the 2-month also down 0.8 of a basis point right now, staying well over like 110. So the inversion is not shrinking at all. If anything, it's widening on the 2-month. Let's go ahead and look at the rest. We've got oil right now up 0.08. So 8 cents at 78.58. Brent up 11. Now, interesting, there's a whole bunch of articles this morning saying that there's so much surplus, oil surplus, gasoline, that everybody's expecting the surplus to be even bigger in the middle of summer, and therefore oil prices will be going down today. They're not. They're going up. So there you go. Natural gas down a little bit. So still over $3, which is very high for natural gas going into the summer. That's not good for folks who are going to need that air conditioning. We got gold down 27 at 23.27. We have got silver down 3.24%, so well under the $30 mark now at 29.29. Copper down 0.93 at $4.52. So again, well off that $5.10 or so that it was earlier, just about a month ago. We've got the dollar all over the place right now. Overall gains right now. We have got the Bitcoin this morning sitting at down 600 again, 67,457. And that would be pretty much all of the news, except for going back and seeing if Tesla is hanging in there at 5.68. No, it's still dropping a little bit. So it's still up $10 on the morning, but it did fall off, as did everything with Chairman Powell's speech. Maybe later today, we'll find out more about that. I obviously can't report it on the fly as much as I would like to. All right, so that is a wrap. I just want to remind you that Nicholas Gibbs will be along later tonight. We've got Cern Basher later today. Hitting the like button, the subscribe button, and the notify button all are a big help. The biggest help would be joining Patreon. And then yesterday, there was a lot of good videos up yesterday, but they were mostly about all the CPI stuff. But if you want to go back and look at those, I'll put the main one, the one I think you should have watched, I'll put that up there as a card. Okay, that's all I've got for you right now, but look forward to lots more interesting Tesla news as the day progresses. It's been great talking to you.